Welcome to The Explainer. I'm absolutely thrilled you're here today because, well, we are tackling one of the most fascinating biological mysteries inside the human body, cellular aging. We're going to completely pull back the curtain on what's really happening on a microscopic level as we get older. And, more importantly, we're looking at how we can practically master our own cellular health. Get ready, because the science we are unpacking today is going to completely change the way you look at a simple cup of tea.
Okay, let's dive into this. Have you ever noticed this phenomenon? I mean, you can have two people, both exactly 60 years old, right? But one looks like this glowing, energetic senior, while the other appears significantly more aged and frail. Even in young kids, sometimes you see a child who just kind of looks a bit older for their age. So why does this happen? The answer actually doesn't lie in the passing of time at all. It lies deep within our cells.
Section 1. The Secret to Aging. Biological senescence.
To really wrap our heads around this, we have to completely separate our concept of time from our concept of physical decline. Notice the stark contrast here. Aging in a purely chronological sense, that's inevitable. Every single year, automatically, you add a year to your age. It's really just a number. But senescence, which is our biological aging, that dictates the actual physical deterioration of our cells. And the degree of senescence varies wildly from person to person. That's exactly why that 60-year-old can still be incredibly youthful and radiant. They're managing their senescence.
Section 2. Rise of zombie cells. The fate of telomeres. So, how do cells actually age? It all comes down to the biological countdown clocks inside our DNA known as telomeres. Think of them like the candles of life. As our cells divide, these candles burn down, getting shorter and shorter. And when that candle finally burns out completely, a cell faces one of three distinct fates. First, it can undergo apoptosis. That's just natural cell death. The cell simply bursts, breaks down, and gracefully dies off. Second, a repair cell might mutate and begin to divide infinitely, just endlessly multiplying. And that, unfortunately, is the path of cancer. But there's a third path. The cell doesn't die naturally, and it doesn't turn into cancer. Instead, it enters a state of senescence. It becomes what scientists literally call a zombie cell. It just sits there, refusing to die, but no longer functioning normally at all.
Section 3. The chronic inflammation danger, the SAS phenomenon.
And this brilliantly illustrates the real issue. Having a few dormant cells might not sound like a huge deal, but they pose a massive danger to our overall health. Zombie cells trigger a secretory phenomenon known as SASP. Even though they're essentially dead in function, they constantly spew this toxic mix of substances into the surrounding tissue. They release cytokines and chemokines, which act like inflammatory chemical alarms constantly ringing. They pump out enzymes that degrade the structural tissue matrix, and they release toxic exosomes. The whole shebang creates intense, chronic inflammation right inside your healthy tissues.
When this SASP-induced chronic inflammation spreads like wildfire from these scattered zombie cells, the collateral damage is just staggering. It paves the way for a whole host of severe chronic diseases. We're talking about triggering new cancers, myocardial infarctions, heart attacks, diabetes, cataracts, COPD in the lungs, Alzheimer's disease, osteoporosis, and osteoarthritis. The presence of these zombie cells is directly tied to the physical ailments we most heavily associate with getting older.
Which brings up a massive biological question. If these inflamed, toxic cells are just sitting inside our healthy tissues causing all this damage, why doesn't our immune system just wipe them out? Usually, our immune cells are fantastic at attacking and killing off abnormal cells. So how are the zombies surviving?
Well, they survive by wearing a disguise. Some of these zombie cells are equipped with a specific protein substance called PD-L1. This acts as an immune checkpoint. When an immune cell approaches, the zombie cell essentially holds up the PD-L1 protein to signal, hey, I'm not a bad guy. It literally puts the brakes entirely on the immune system, tricking your body's natural defenses into leaving the destructive, inflamed zombie cell completely alone.
Section 4. The medical senolytics dilemma.
Since the immune system is being tricked, modern medicine has developed senolytics. These are interventions attempting to clear out these senescent cells. Look at the medical senolytics currently being studied. We've got dasatinib and GLS-1 inhibitors, which are literally harsh anti-cancer drugs. We have digitalis, a cardiac glycoside used for heart failure that's basically a toxin. And we have immune checkpoint inhibitors designed to block that PD-L1 disguise, usually administered via an IV drip. The problem? The side effects of these drugs on your normal healthy cells are incredibly severe.
Right now, using these potent cancer drugs purely for anti-aging or rejuvenation in totally healthy people, it's just not a viable option.
But here is where the story gets really fascinating. Even if we had a perfect drug to wipe out every single zombie cell without side effects, we wouldn't want to. That's the plot twist. Zombie cells aren't entirely evil.
Cellular senescence is actually a massive biological double-edged sword. Think back to those 3 fates of a cell with no telomeres. The very act of a cell turning into a dormant zombie is actually a built-in defense mechanism to stop that specific cell from becoming an endlessly dividing cancer cell. Furthermore, that SASP inflammation we talked about, actually, scratch that, it's not all bad. In moderate amounts, the body uses those inflammatory substances to effectively fight off infections and prevent tumor growth. It's only when there's an excess of zombie cells that it leads to chronic disease. We absolutely need a moderate amount of them. So total eradication with harsh drugs, it completely removes these vital cancer-preventing and infection-fighting benefits.
Section 5. Natural foods for cellular youth.
So, if we can't, and really shouldn't, use harsh medical drugs to obliterate these cells, how on earth do we safely manage our biological aging? The answer actually lies in safe, accessible, everyday natural foods. One of the most powerful natural senolytics is right in your kitchen. It targets the MTOPR pathway in our bodies to suppress cell proliferation and manage zombie cells completely safely. Next time you use an onion, do not throw away that brown, papery outer skin. Instead, put those brown skins in a pot with some water, bring it to a rolling boil, and then let it cool. You are left with a tea that is incredibly rich in quercetin. Drinking this brown onion skin tea is a completely safe, harmless way to help manage senescent cells.
And quercetin isn't alone. There are other really powerful natural senolytics proposed by researchers. One is piperlongum, commonly known as haihatsu, which is a traditional spice frequently used in places like Okinawa. Another incredible source is the ficitin, found naturally in mulberry leaves. Both of these dietary additions have been shown to have the amazing effect of safely clearing out excess senescent cells.
So the crucial point is really the stark contrast. On one side, we have medical interventions for clearing zombie cells, harsh anti-cancer drugs, immune IVs, and cardiac toxins that carry severe, dangerous side effects to healthy tissue. On the exact opposite side, we have natural senolytics, onion skin tea, haihatsu spice, and mulberry leaves. These are entirely safe, highly accessible, natural dietary options that manage the zombie cell population without stripping away their beneficial cancer-fighting properties.
You know, the science of aging really doesn't have to be intimidating, and you certainly don't have to wait around for some miracle drug to take control of your cellular health. We have the knowledge to actively combat our own biological senescence today. By embracing these accessible, natural foods, we can safely sweep away the excess toxic inflammation in our bodies while keeping our natural defenses perfectly intact.
You literally have the blueprint for cellular mastery right in front of you. Starting with something as simple as the onion skins we usually just toss in the trash. So I'll leave you with this to think about as we wrap up this explainer. Will you start drinking onion skin tea to fight your zombie cells? Definitely think about it next time you're in the kitchen. Thanks so much for joining me today, and keep learning.